As future smart parents, we need to be helping our children to make great career choices. And one of the series that we have here at futuresmartparent.com is on careers and what careers will look like. Sometimes jobs that don't exist yet. And today I want to talk to you about one of the older professions, one that's been around for a long time and one that many people aspire to. And I want to tell you how it's changing and what advice we should be giving to our kids as parents. The career that I'm thinking of is the career of accounting, the accountant, the auditor, the financial advisor. In fact, this is one that's close to my heart because this is where I started in life. In high school, I got a bursary from KPMG and I went and studied accounting and did articles at KPMG towards becoming a chartered accountant. I never qualified in that. I was headhunted by an IT company before I finished articles and left. But it's certainly a profession that I know well and is close to my heart. So what do we tell our children if they want to become accountants? What does the future hold for the accounting profession? Well, the first thing to say is that this is a profession which is in crisis at the moment. It's in crisis for a number of reasons. The first is it's in crisis as a profession just because it's not really doing its job. I know my accounting friends are going to be a little bit upset with me saying this, but it's really difficult to deny that you read about accounting and auditing firms in the news these days because of ethical lapses, because when big companies go bust, these days it's often tracked back to accounting errors and auditors who didn't see corruption and didn't see fraud taking place in the business. And so some of there's the big four accounting firms around the world, and then there's a sort of 10 or 12 mid-tier companies. All of these companies are really struggling. And I think in the next decade, they're going to see increasing regulation. They're going to see further stress put on their industries, and they're going to see clients really pushing back against them. They are a grudge purchase. Nobody loves having an accountant, an auditor, or a tax advisor around. So you really are going into a profession that is in crisis, that's struggling. The second reason it's struggling is because of the whole issue of fees. The days of the big audit lunch, I remember that back in the 1990s, where they kind of had these unlimited budgets and a whole horde of people running around doing an audit or an accounting function. No more. Clients are really squeezing the fees, and that's putting a squeeze on the accounting companies to start with. So the profits are not there, and the salaries that maybe used to be paid in the industry are not being paid as much anymore. And the third reason for the squeeze, and you might have thought I would start with this one, but I think it's the least of the three, although it's huge in itself, is the issue of artificial intelligence, automation, algorithms, machine learning, and so on. The accounting profession, in all its various formats, from the accounting side, the bookkeeping, the record keeping, then to some of the financial management of businesses, then to the auditing and compliance side, and then to tax, so that's kind of the spread of the profession. Every single one of those parts of the profession is absolutely ripe for automation. A lot of the work that's done by accountants at the moment can be done by machines. I know a lot of accountants will argue with that and will sit back and say, no, my work is way too complex. But it isn't, because basically computers can do complicated things. As long as the thing that the computer is being programmed to do is entirely driven by rules, is entirely driven by agreed sets of principles and processes, then in fact the computer is much better than the person. And I mean, the whole point of an accountant is to learn the rules and apply the rules. Whether it's GAAP, the generally accepted accounting practices, or whatever it is, the whole point of it is that they are fixed and prescribed rules. Now, of course, when you get to the top of the profession, part of your job is to argue about the rules. And the most senior people in the profession can try and work out how to get around the rules or adjust the rules over time. But the average accountant, the average member of an accounting firm, is just applying the rules. And if the rules are fixed, then the computer can do it. So we can't say that AI isn't coming. Somebody mentioned to me the other day that the very definition of artificial intelligence and automation is in the accounting profession, because if you want a creative accountant, you normally are somebody who's trying to stay out of jail. And if you find a creative accountant, you're normally headed for jail. So we don't want creativity. I know that's an overstatement, accountants, but you get what I'm saying. So the first thing to say is, why do you want to go into a profession that's under pressure, is going to be stripped to the bone in the next decade by market forces, and is a threat, one of the biggest threats in its industry, of being replaced entirely by machines? Doesn't feel like a clever choice to make. But what if your child wants to become an accountant, an auditor, a tax consultant anyway? Knowing everything, they still want to do this. What advice should we give them as they head off to university? Or maybe they're already in university or already started their career, an articled clerk or fully qualified. I suggest that there are 3 things that you can do to future-proof yourself as an accountant, as an auditor. The first is, make sure that you do business studies. Now, this might sound like a strange thing to suggest to somebody doing accountancy as a set of studies, that they would need business studies. But what I mean by this is that you need to study marketing. You need to understand sales. You need to understand operations, not just the accounting function or the financial part of the business, but you need to understand business as a whole. In other words, what I'm really saying is you need to do some entrepreneurial skills. And bizarrely, accountants don't learn entrepreneurial skills. This leads me to the second thing, and that is that one of the biggest stresses that senior people in the industry, in the accounting profession, have today is that they didn't realize, as they were coming up through the ranks, that by the time they became a partner in their firm or a director in their business, that they would actually have to go out and get their own business. Now, by the way, this is the same for lawyers and engineers and all the other professions as well. People who are in their 40s and 50s today thought that by the time I got to the corner office or the top floor, the work would just roll in and I could just sit back and wait for the clients to come. Well, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't work in the 21st century anymore. And you need to position yourself in the market. Every professional, every accountant, every auditor is responsible for going out and getting some work. And even if it's not a job requirement from your company, if you can get work, well, you get ahead of the pack very, very quickly. You get noticed very, very quickly as somebody who's able to bring clients into a business. And so the second thing you need to be learning is you need to be learning personal branding. You need to be learning marketing skills. You need to be learning sales skills, getting yourself out into the market. This might even include writing blogs, having a YouTube channel. So there's a social media aspect to it as well. So many of the older accountants these days just don't want to be involved in social media at all. And some of the old school accounting firms even have policies around not doing that. I realize there are some regulatory things about advertising, but certainly positioning yourself as an expert in the market is something everybody can do. And these are skills you can learn, and the earlier you learn them, the sooner you learn them, the better. So number one, add to your university degree some additional courses on business. Secondly, develop some skills. This might not be a university course. It might be something you can do during the holidays on social media, personal branding, marketing, sales, and so on. And the final thing you should do, and this is the advice I give to every person studying in any line of study, and that is push yourself to the edge of your profession. Where is the future of your profession? And what is the skill set that is on the horizon of your industry? For accountants, it's artificial intelligence, it's automation, it's machine learning. And so as part of your course of studies, I would highly recommend adding some elective courses in computer coding, in automation, even in robotics. You might find these courses in the engineering faculty or in the computer science faculty. And it might be a little bit of extra work for you to actually go and put these elective courses into your degree. If you can't do it as part of your degree, do it again as an elective during your holidays. Gee, university students have enough time off. Don't waste that time loafing around or playing with your friends. Or if you're taking a gap year, do this stuff in your gap year. Do a course on coding. You can just find a course online. Sign up to do a robotics course. Not because you need to do this as part of your career. Maybe you will, though. Maybe you'll love it. The type of brain that can be an accountant or an auditor can definitely do computer coding. So maybe it can be something that you incorporate into your career. But it's more than that. It's not just as a career option. It's like you're learning the language. You need to know how to speak the language of automation. You need to know how to speak the language of algorithms. You need to know how to speak the language of the computer, because you're going to be at least working with the computer, let alone competing against the computer in your career for the rest of your life. This is not optional, and it's not a drill. So make sure that you do that. Now, we're always going to have accountants. We're always going to need auditors. We're going to need fewer of them in the future than we need now, and they're going to need different skills. But I hope that as you think about how the profession is changing and think about what you need to change to prepare to enter the profession, that you future-proof yourself as a future-proof accountant, a future-proof auditor, and a future-proof tax officer. Good luck. You're going to need it.